besties. You're currently watching The Vomitorium. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Enjoy the show!
Hey, welcome to the Vomitorium, everyone. As always, I'm your host, The Metal. Sorry, I've been gone for the last, 3 days. Didn't really have any shows this week. It's been a pretty hectic week in general. Really wasn't convenient for me to run the show, though I did do kind of somewhat a just chatting makeup stream last night, for anybody who caught that. But I'm here now. Happy day to everyone here. Happy night, I guess, since it's already past midnight on the East Coast, getting to that direction on the West. But we're here to talk about whatever happens to concern me today, which in this case tends to be Sentenced to be a Hero. I watched it, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. A couple other things that are almost like a monkey's paw, where sometimes you should learn to keep your mouth shut so you don't accidentally will them into existence. This is personal. But before we get into that, if you happen to like the show, whether you're watching now, whether you're watching in the future, video on demand, please grab that link, share it off with somebody else. Get more people in here. Always feel free to share your opinions in the comment section below if you think I am wrong, or if you'd actually just like to tell me why you are definitely wrong, feel free to do it. And, make sure you're following wherever you're watching from. So, first thing up on the batting order, I watched Sentenced to be a Hero, the kind of hour-long pilot episode for it. I saw everybody talking about it. My roommate / former co-host, Marsupial Gamer, also watched it. He said it was really good, so I'm like, okay, I'll at least give it a shot. It's an hour long. That's about how much I give a new series. I'll wait until like the third episode is out, and I'll watch it, but those are usually 20-minute episodes. So I kind of get all of that right now at the start. And my overall opinion on it, before getting into individual details, was that I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. I don't know if it was quite up to the hype that I've been seeing around to it. It wasn't close to the best thing I've ever seen for the start of a series. It wasn't the best thing since sliced bread, that phrase everybody's been using forever. There were definitely a lot of drawbacks in it, but I thought it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable enough that I'm definitely willing to continue the series. I believe the next episode, where it actually starts getting into the normal serialized formula, is on the 15th. And so I'll be able to keep updating my opinions by then. That's next week, right? We're going to have a week-by-week thing to engage with. The strengths of it start out on the front, or I guess maybe before, I should probably give a generalized overview of the plot of it without any spoilers, because it is brand new, and the beginning is functionally like a made-for-TV movie. You could enjoy it without possibly ever deciding to continue the series. I think that's perfectly fine. It's one of those, it works as a one-shot, where it leaves itself open to continue, but as a standalone story, it's pretty fine. So the overall premise, the plot of it, is that they are in the middle of a battle, and there are these two agents, soldiers, whatever you want to call them, sent out to aid in the retreat of these other soldiers. And these two characters happen to be heroes who were basically prisoners. They were fugitives or criminals from the past that were sentenced to resurrection, more or less. Anytime they need a hero, they can come back and they're expendable. They don't really care about losing them. They even explain in there that the more times you get resurrected, the more of yourself you lose. So eventually you could be effectively just like a walking corpse for them to use as they need. And these two were sent out to aid in the retreat of these like Templar-style knights, these crusaders who are off fighting demons and fairies. And there is a demon lord that is spreading blight throughout an area, which is causing the fauna to mutate into dangerous fairy monsters, and they need to not necessarily even kill the Demon Lord. That wasn't their orders. They just need to make sure as many soldiers get back alive as possible. In the process of doing their job, due to the thief being greedy and stealing anything that seems valuable, they end up stealing and waking up a goddess, which is a weapon designed as a final measure against these demons. No, not a demon king, demon lord. So a demon lord in this case is specifically like a higher-end monster. There are many, many demon lords. The main character, I think, has already killed like 11 before that or something. It's more of a phenomena than anything. Might there be an actual demon king above it? Maybe. First episode doesn't state anything like that. They're just talking about how there's this phenomenon that is a demon lord that is causing blight to spread and mutating everything. Might even show that these demon lords could have come from regular things if infected in the blight before they became a demon lord. That's a little spoiler territory, though. I'm not going to explain how or where that comes in. You have to watch the episode for that. But it is not like a traditional like Demon King setting. In some ways, I would say it is more similar to a setting like Claymore, where things can kind of mutate and come about naturally, sort of. Though Claymore, there was definitely experimentation going on, but that's not to say that there wasn't in this world. The beginning of this leaves a lot up to interpretation, up to mystery, and the people in charge of the world may, in fact, have something to do with why things are the way they are. So, yeah, basically it. There's a big fight. The end of it starts to get more and more into the mystery of it. And that's just the general premise. I happen to like the world it's set in so far, at least from the initial episode that I watched. It's kind of one-shot made-for-TV movie. It is, I wouldn't call it a traditional high fantasy, but as far as like the scaling of everything, the type of world it is a more traditional high fantasy world. It's not video gamey, which is something that I'm kind of sick of with a lot of fantasy lately. In fact, I, at least initially, couldn't see anything that was referential to video game mechanics or like Dragon Quest or anything right off the bat. It just seemed like, oh, I'm writing a fantasy world. Already a good point for it. They use maybe something that's inspired by video games. I wouldn't say that's not there, but the magic that they were using involved putting crystals into weapons, so it kind of reminded me of magicite or even materia from Final Fantasy. It's fine to take inspiration from stuff. One of the things that I always found was funny is one of my favorite video game adaptations and favorite fantasy stories in anime is the adaptation of Tower of Druaga, which, despite being based off a video game, has very, very few video game mechanics in it at all. They took stuff that you would expect to be in a video game and actually translated it into just raw fantasy, and I always appreciated that. That's why I think Tower of Druaga is like a really good series. The only episode in that one that is very video gamey is the kind of comedy episode where in it they play the original video game, which was the original tower from the game, and they actually drop the character in there, and people have to play like a stone arcade thing. That was done for comedy's sake, but that's besides the point. I usually appreciate them when if somebody is inspired by video games, they take the game mechanic out of it and just try to weave it naturally into the world. I can't tell if that is the case here, that they were even inspired by video games. I can just say that I detected no game mechanics. Positive. Other positives about it. I like the main character. I don't remember his name because I'm fresh off of watching it. And they didn't say it very often. I know it starts with a Z. but I think they only said his name like 3 times in the whole episode. So it would probably take me rewatching it or watching more of the series for me to remember his name. But he was a pretty cool character. He was executed, I think, for killing a goddess. I think that was like his big thing. And ironically, the new goddess is attached to him. But he's cool. He's got a good personality as far as like a character goes. He's gruff. He's battle hardened. There's good reasons for him to act the way he does. He's got a very consistent character. He really just doesn't give a shit about what literally anybody else thinks because he's been through stuff. You know, like he's seen horrible things himself. So he's not going to let anybody else tell him how he should be acting, what he should care about. He's seen how things like honor and dignity can lead you to dying. He's very much a war vet style character. I like him a lot. I even like his little thief friend was kind of cool. You don't see much of him though. They'll probably build up more on him as the series goes on. He dips out at a certain point because he's kind of that typical antsy small rogue character. It's like, fighting is not how I solve problems. Sneaking around is how I solve problems. He was even kind of a very consistent character too. He didn't seem like somebody with a bad nature to him, aside from stealing. Obviously, that is a vice all on its own, but that seemed to be kind of his only vice. The way they were describing it, and I know we brought it up yesterday on my work stream, I was half expecting this to kind of be like a Suicide Squad story, and the heroes, in a way, are functionally those type of characters. They have like a magical color, like sealed, tattooed on their neck, to where if you do disobey, the people in charge could just execute you again and then summon you again later when they need you. But as a story, it hasn't functioned quite like that. That is not really their job. Everybody is aware of the heroes. They're not like, it's not espionage. They're not trying to clean their hands of the situation by sending villains and stuff out that nobody will miss. This is more of an Expendables situation, but one where everybody knows what's going on. Even the people they're trying to help look down on them and like, oh, I don't want a criminal like you helping me, but, you know, it's their job. They're ready to kill these people at a drop of a hat if their orders didn't say otherwise. But in a lot of ways, so far, it has shown that these people who are heroes, a title given to these criminals, might have better and more consistent character than the people, these noble knights they're supposed to be helping. Which, there's some historical merit to that. We've kind of grandized knights for a good portion of history, but when you actually look into the personal accounts, a lot of them were just people born into their position. Sometimes they were knighted and actually deserved of their position. Sometimes they just got it straight up being knighted through nepotism. They're like, you're a lord, you're born this way, I need knights, I'm knighting you. That happened a lot in history. And knights were often some of the crudest people. Yes, samurai. Well, samurai were basically just knights. Different term, different place, slight cultural difference, but functioned the same way in society, right? Because it wasn't always the top-level royalty that knighted somebody land. Local lords could. It's just anybody who had dominion over the land could knight somebody. In some ways, it's almost like making somebody a marshal, right? You deputize them. There's just more of a higher spiritual connotation with knighthood. And there's still people who are knighted for all kinds of reasons in the modern day. There's a lot of people who are knighted for the arts now because you don't really send people off necessarily as knights to war. There's some people who come back from war and they're knighted for their deeds. But knighting is often very nepotistic in history. And that's why codes like chivalry had to be made in the first place, because knights were often abusing their power. So it wasn't out of form to have these people who were battle hungry, wanted honor, wanted dignity, were willing to throw their lives away just so people would remember them in a positive way, having these considerably irreparable characters have more of a moral backbone than them. And so I like the main characters. The goddess, I don't know how I feel about her. She's the third main character we've ever introduced. She doesn't have much of a character yet. Very just introducing archetype. I'm sure she was only just activated. So the goddesses are weapons of wars. They're almost like walking nukes in a way, who have access to divine power. Things like summoning unlimited swords if they need to. But they can burn out like a candle burning at both ends if they use too much of their power. But because she basically just woke up and she's kind of got almost like a pre-programmed state, she doesn't have much of a character. Maybe it's something that will grow as the series goes on. I'm not going to judge her too much. There just wasn't much there to criticize positively or negatively in this first episode. I like her design. I like the fact that, talk about like a candle burning too brightly, too fast. Her hair is kind of like a wick with like a little flame design on the end. That was cool. I think the visual design of a lot of things are positive as well. It's got like a very gritty, almost dark fantasy world to it. I think that's pretty good. The things I don't like about it, because I think the story's steering in a good direction, enough to make me want to continue watching it. The animation was probably the weakest part of the entire episode. I'd say that the animation was mediocre at best. And it's partially because I could see all the shortcuts they were taking pretty clearly. They didn't even try to hide or disguise it too much. It's one of those series where one of the major shortcuts they're taking is they're using 3D models, so they don't have to re-render by hand a character every single frame or anything like that. And that's fine, sort of. I'm not an inherent hater of 3D models. I like things like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which is entirely made with 3D models. What I don't like is when you're using 3D models as a shortcut for 2D animation, and then you don't take all the extra steps you need to make it look cleanly like 2D animation. There were many, many moments where I could just tell from looking at it that they were 3D models with like a stroked outline around it, especially the monsters, the fae that they were fighting. All the fairies. Even with the characters sometime. And the problem with this sort of, I'm going to call it like modeled rotoscoping. And it's not like true rotoscoping where somebody went in and they drew over the models and then got rid of the underlayer. But where you use a rendering filter to put lines on models and then try to flatten them. Very common in the modern day because they know that a lot of people just prefer to watch 2D animation. There were a couple shots where like an undershot looking up at a character who's looking down at you looked really, really flat because the lighting wasn't being caught properly. The lines weren't even being rendered properly. It looked like bad art, even though I know the model wasn't bad. It was just the way it ended up being rendered and filtered did not look good. There's also a lot of times where when you're using 3D models, you have this advantage of super fluid animation, right? Because you can just render something in real time and then you can have a camera capture it and basically print that out into frames. But to try to make it look more like 2D animation, there were a lot of times where it looked like it was animated on 3s. And there was some stuff that was super choppy, but it still didn't look good like it was done in 2D. Something I would excuse if it was done in 2D, but it wasn't. It was in that weird liminal space between 2D and 3D where it doesn't really get the benefits of leaning into either direction. Now, maybe you'd think something that's being made as like a TV movie, as functionally a pilot, something that you're trying to use to sell your series on to people, you would put even more effort into. So I hope the rest of the series doesn't look worse than this. Maybe they were stretched on time and budget, and the rest of the series will look better. I don't know. I want to give them a little bit of good faith in that. They are the studio that was doing seasons 2 and 3 of Uma Musume Pretty Derby, which I haven't seen past season 1, so I don't know if they look good, but people usually talk well of the later seasons of Pretty Derby. So I'm hoping the animation picks up and that it's only really mediocre to possibly awful at points during this intro movie. Like, a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but I do have an eye that starts picking up these kind of, I don't know, uncanny moments, these bad animation spots, that I think the animation in this was worse than season 3 of One Punch Man. And everybody's been very critical of season 3 of One Punch Man, much more so than I have. But people are claiming that this is animation is very well done. It's worse than, say, like Castlevania's animation for the Netflix series. So that has to bring it down quite a bit. At least it's made up for with how good the story and characters are. The action itself is still really good, despite the animation being lackluster. So I would probably give this intro maybe a solid 6.5 out of 10. Definitely worth a watch. So, you know, you can go into that. And that's my opinions on it. That's my view. And maybe I'll clip this off as a standalone review later on. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, the thing that I kind of regret, I've been talking about this for 2.5 years offline. I haven't really brought it up on the show, but like 2 people in person. Anyone who knows me knows that I've been complaining for years that they need to bring the Muppet Show back. Even very recently, I was complaining about that because it's the only good thing that they've done with the Muppets almost ever. I mean, there's some good movies with the Muppets. I like Muppet Treasure Island, even though it's not the best adaptation of Treasure Island. The Muppet movies are usually not the best adaptation of anything they touch, but they're fun. They're good. They're fun for kids. I really enjoy the Muppets, but if I'm going to be really seriously, the Muppet Show is kind of the only good thing they've ever done, with a couple of their original movies also being pretty decent. They've had opportunity to do good stuff over the years, including ABC's The Muppets could have been good. It just wasn't. And mostly it's because they had a lot of the Muppets acting very out of character. Even straight up firing one of their Muppeteers because he disagreed with the way that Kermit should act, and that's why he's not the voice of Kermit anymore, and Kermit sounds very weird. Like, he doesn't sound like Kermit. He won't be in this new show, so the Muppets are coming back. I saw the trailer for it. I'm not very hopeful for it. It's the things where it's like, in my head, even vocally, talking to other people, I want the Muppets to come back as the Muppet Show, specifically. It's the way they should exist. But also, I don't want it to come back because I don't trust Disney to be able to handle it well. Disney would probably ruin most things they touch. Especially the fact that in the trailer, one of the first things you see is executive producer Seth Rogen, who's even in the trailer. Backstage, I think he's actually involved, not just as the executive producer of the show, but acting as the producer of the show in the show. Now, if he is self-aware, it kind of almost looked like there were some jokes aimed at him. That could be redeemable if he allows himself to be the butt of many jokes. He is the type of person that does like to make fun of himself a lot, so it might be fine. It depends how much involvement on the writing he has. I feel like if he's involved heavily in the writing, it can only be awful. Sorry, Seth, but that's just the case with most of the things you touch. Remain is just an actor and producer. Maybe it'll do good. I don't really care that the first, like, guest star is going to be Sabrina Carpenter. They've done wacky musical, like, guests a lot in the past. It's kind of a staple of the show. She is a current pop star. It makes sense to have on there. They will probably have a mix of guests, including musicians, actors, comedians, a bunch of stuff, if the show is popular and continues. I just don't know how much I trust it to be even decent. Not good, just decent under Disney. Also, we're probably going to have Disney Plus to watch it. So I will probably only be watching The Muppet Show to be able to review it and tell you how good or awful the new version is through less than legitimate means, because I'm not getting Disney Plus. It's not worth getting, even for something like The Muppet Show. I could probably get over Kermit sounding weird. I forget the Muppeteer's name. It's the guy who has also voiced Constantine, which is why Kermit sounds a lot like Constantine. I don't know why he has such a hard time making Kermit sound like Kermit. Almost nobody can do a perfect Kermit voice, aside from a few impressionists. Whitmer before, and Henson himself. It's something that you really have to work at. You have to study a lot. You have to actually pick up the mannerisms of the characters. I myself don't think I can do that good of a Kermit voice, but almost any impressionist can probably do a better job than the guy who's been playing Kermit. Which is why I think, like, even he should be able to do a better job. I don't know what's up with that. I don't want to be too judgmental on him. Kermit's just sounded weird for quite a long time now. Since 2016, when it's changed hands. It's like, you have an issue when, say, Seth MacFarlane can do a better Kermit than the guy who is currently officially doing Kermit. And Seth MacFarlane doesn't even get the mannerisms right. All he has is the range. The guy who's currently playing gets the mannerisms right. He just doesn't have the range for it, I guess. That might be the problem. That might be why Kermit sounds very weird. But I can get past that. I can get past that a lot. I think most of the other cast are going to be the people that have been on it for a long time. Pretty much ever since everybody was recasted for the 2016 ABC's The Muppets. And so, I don't know. I'll get back to you after it comes out, and I'll tell you guys my opinion as a longtime Muppet fan. And whether it's even worth watching past the first episode. Hey, Mike, how you doing? He said, did you catch my show earlier tonight where I covered an interview Mel Blanc did talking about who some of his favorite voice directors are? No, I did not catch that at all. I wasn't in the house. I was out and about doing things. I had to. We were probably about the time that you were doing your show. I was probably at a Mexican food restaurant, like borderline fast food level, called Rio's. Great place. Every time we have to go out for a day like that, Marsupial just looks at me and is like, you pick, because I don't want to. I'm like, okay, I haven't had Mexican food in a while. We're going to Rio's. So that's probably where I was at the time that you were covering that article. I got a bowl, because I do not like burritos. I don't like flour tortillas for most things, in general. There's very few things I enjoy flour tortillas on. So I got a bowl filled with rice, beans, grill-fired steak, pico de gallo, an habanero salsa, and some cilantro. It was a pretty good meal. I didn't eat all the rice and beans because We were getting to the point that we wanted to go, and we were finishing our food on the patio outside. It was pretty cold. I think it had dropped to 50 degrees. And I'm like, nah, we could go. I ate all the important parts. I ate the parts that actually cost the money of the meal. It's fine if some of the rice and beans go to waste. We can go. I do like Mel Blanc. Probably one of the best voice actors to ever live. I mean, he's definitely up there as one of the greatest. You can make some arguments that there might be people better than him, but I don't know if any of those arguments will actually stick. My favorite role of his was always Barney Rubbles, but obviously he does so many more. The only one I can remotely get close to, I think, is Marvin the Martian. I do a pretty mean Marvin the Martian. But no, didn't catch your show. I was too busy being upset about the state that the Muppet Show is coming back in. I actually didn't see if this is the case. You know what? I'm going to go look it up right now. Is it going to be a Disney Plus exclusive? My problem with the Muppet Show, and Disney still owns ABC, is that the Muppet Show should, in fact, be on air. It should be on primetime on ABC every single night. A new episode is supposed to be premiering once a week. That is how the Muppet Show should be. And if they restrict it to Disney Plus, I think it's just awful. Oh, it's a one-off episode. Okay, and it will be on ABC. That's fine. It's celebrating the 50th anniversary. And it might lead into more things in the future, but it's a special. That makes it a little bit better. Just a little bit. It's definitely better than the movie that they made. When was that movie out? Was it like 20 something? It was 2010 maybe? I don't actually remember when that movie. 2011? It was 2014? Wow. That was later than I thought it was. Where that movie was also trying to be a pseudo revival of the Muppet Show, or at least like a throwback to it. And there was some cool stuff in it. Everything involving the actual old theater and the Muppet Show was good. The rest of the story outside of it, kind of questionable. That's why my opinion on that movie has always been split from the beginning. It's like, I really like the stuff they're doing with the show. Don't really care about these two characters that are the guiding focus of the plot trying to revive the show. I don't really care about their story at all. It's probably the reason why I haven't gone and rewatched that movie since it came out. But okay. I'm a little... When I first saw the trailer, I think it was... I saw it as a commercial, and I might have got it cut off on me. And it looked like it was a full revival of the show. So that's me jumping the gun. I apologize for that. As just a 50th anniversary special, this might be fine. I don't know how bad you can ruin it. If you were doing it week after week and you didn't have the right people working on it, you could very easily ruin it. You might even just blow your steam, blow your full load on the first episode. But as just a special to celebrate the original series, this might be fine. But they are saying it could serve as a potential backdoor pilot for a full series revival. And if that is the case, all of my previous comments still apply. All of my worries still apply. Just not to potentially a singular special. Do we have a date on it yet, though? Because it was apparently announced on the 4th, so just a few days ago, which I don't even know if I was doing a show at that time and whether I would have missed it. It might already be up. Let me look. I might be able to watch it now. Disney Plus on the 4th. It will also air on ABC. When on ABC? No. If I actually want to watch this on TV, as God intended the Muppet Show to be watched, when will the special air on ABC? Saturday, January 24th, 9 p.m. Eastern. You know what I'm going to do? Live on air right now. I guess we're not technically on air, but live right now, I'm going to open up my phone. I'm going to go to my alarms. Where the hell is my alarm? And I'm going to set myself a reminder for the 24th. Let me give it a specific date on the calendar. The 24th. What time? 9 p.m. Eastern. That would be 7, so 6:30 p.m. Just to give myself time to not miss it. I always set my alarms like half an hour early. Even for this show, I have it set for half an hour before the show goes on. I set it for that day. Alarm reminder. Muppet Show. I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the froggy on the Monday after that. Because there's got to be a way to watch it on, like, ABC. Oh, wait, no, that's a different one. That's not the one we're talking about. Why'd you sneak that in here, article? Like, I'm looking at this as if this is the date. Actually, that's something completely different. This is, oh my God, I hate these things. I was setting my alarm and everything. This is not even the time. It might have already passed. You know what? I'm just going to go and find it. Whenever the time is, I'm just going to go and find it. And I'll talk to you guys whatever the next episode is after this. I hate all of these articles. I don't know what's up with journalism today, but nothing is written well. At all. At all. And they sneak in things that have nothing to do with the shit they're talking about. You don't hate journalists enough. Anyway. Mike says, among the articles I covered included the Mel Blanc interview, a look back at the musical direction of Hoyt Curtin, and a preview of the upcoming live-action Scooby-Doo show. Why is there an upcoming live-action Scooby-Doo show? I have not even heard of this. What? Why is this a thing? It's a Netflix series? I'm trying to look at previews for it. Where do we... I guess we don't have any previews yet. Why? Filming's expected to begin April 2026. Can we just, like, end it now before it starts? Let me read about this. Eight-episode show goes back to haunting cases. Okay, so they're going to be doing the traditional formula of Scooby-Doo. You know what would be the best way to do this? And I can't see in here if this is what they're doing. Or odds are they're probably just going to be making entirely new scripts, right? I see the script start. So it's going to be written by Josh Applebaum and Scott Rosenberg. It's episode number 101. The modern reimagining old friend Shaggy and Daphne team up at summer camp scientific townie Velma and the strange but handsome friend to solve the mystery of a lost Great Dane puppy who may have witnessed, and that's it. I don't feel like clicking on the tweet. Well, I do like the fact that Shaggy and Daphne are old friends. Clearly, they're doing a meeting of all these people, which was obviously never in the original series. They've added backstory stuff to them later on, but when the series started, they were all already touring around together. But it did always seem like Shaggy and Daphne were closer than any of the other ones, right? The fact that Daphne was already in the position that she has Scooby snacks inside her purse, and Scooby trusts her a little bit more than everyone else. They seem like either they were longtime childhood friends or maybe cousins or something like that. As a kid, I had always headcanoned that they were cousins, but there's literally never any proof about what their actual relationship was, so at best friends. So that's cool that they're doing that. I don't know why. Maybe because you're not allowed to. I don't know what the circumstances are and the rights there. If I were going to do a live-action Scooby-Doo series, I would literally just take the original scripts and do, like, scene-for-scene redos of the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You? I think that would be the coolest thing you could do, but that's obviously not what they're going to be doing. But it doesn't... At least their premise doesn't sound bad. Because they're... Except for the fact that, like, the mystery of a lost Great Dane puppy who may have witnessed... I'm going to have to click on the tweet now. Now I'm actually going to have to click on the tweet to see what the filler is for it. A supernatural murder. Oh, they're going to turn it into murder mysteries? See, I thought that's where they were going. First off, I don't want anything to be supernatural in a live-action Scooby-Doo series. I want it to be like Sherlock Holmes, where the things appear supernatural until they unmask a man in the mask. Now, maybe that is what they're doing, and they're just discussing it or displaying it in the way that it initially looks to the people in the story and the audience watching. I know a lot of actual supernatural stuff has been involved in Scooby-Doo for a long time now. Everything from the old Scooby-Doo movies like Reluctant Werewolf and the Boo Brothers over to, I guess, midlife ones like Zombie Island. It's weird that Zombie Island is almost Scooby-Doo's midlife at this point in time. Further on, before Zombie Island, 13 Ghosts had actual supernatural stuff. The live-action movies had actual supernatural stuff in it. But Scooby-Doo itself is not supposed to really have supernatural stuff. It's supposed to be very Holmesian in the fact that it appears to be a supernatural thing that is scaring off the people. And usually, the stuff going on, it's crime. Actual crime is happening, but it usually isn't violent crime. Like, we don't normally have murders and stuff. It's more off that people are trying to use superstition to scare people away so they can do the other crime they were planning on doing. That's kind of how I want Scooby-Doo to be. And I hope that's how this series ends up. But also, I feel like Scooby should have been with Shaggy for his entire life. I don't like this idea that this Great Dane puppy that they're finding, this is how that he's getting Scooby. It might be all right. I'm fine. I'm open to other interpretations. I'm not too much of a stickler on this. It's just when you do stuff like that, going into other interpretations itself is kind of not a red flag, but a yellow one. It's a little bit of a warning. So I guess we'll see with that too. It's going to be a long time till we see this, though. If they're starting filming this April, at soonest it would be fall that we get to see it. But they're going to be... You're going to have to be doing a lot of editing. I bet there's going to be a lot of CG and visual effects in it. So maybe next year. Do we have a date on when it's going to be? I'm looking. Yeah, we don't have a date. I'm going to guess fall soonest, but probably next year. Probably around spring next year. Usually you get it a year after they start filming. But I don't know. Netflix does have quite a bit of quick turnaround time on this stuff. So maybe. So to have Welker doing Scooby-Doo's voice, I mean, well, he's been doing it for the longest time now. I mean, at this point, I think he's done it longer than Messick originally did it. Just because of how long back it was that he took over. But, you know, I'd prefer it. I don't want somebody else taking the voice as long as Welker's still around. It would just feel odd. You know, unless, I guess, if Welker was getting so tired, like his voice couldn't do it anymore, that he has to pass it on to somebody else, that's also a valid reason to pass it on, but hopefully that would happen while he's around so he could help coach the new person through it. Kind of like how Kasem helped coach Lillard into the role. That would be preferred. I kind of like it when the person who passes the role on is still around to help the next person into it. So they can be a little more authentic, you know? Because nobody knows the role more than the person who was doing the voice forever. Anyway, that did give me, I guess, a third thing to talk about. So thanks for that. I didn't even know that was a thing. Maybe I would have found out over the weekend as I was looking for more stuff for Monday's show. The more I'm looking to the Muppet thing, it seems like it may have already appeared, and I'm a little late on the handle. So maybe I'll give you my review of it on Monday if I find it. It's so weird. I saw it as a commercial. You know, if it's something that's already aired, I guess because streaming services now, you could just go back and watch something anytime. I'm like, why is this a commercial as if it's going to be premiering? It's so lazy. Instead of making another commercial of like, this thing's already there, they just are still showing the premiering commercial. Adds to further confusion. Especially like, what? I thought it wasn't here yet. So, we'll see about that. Anyway, that's the show. Thank you all for watching. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a work stream or something this weekend. Never sure about that. But, for sure, I will see you guys Monday, as long as something doesn't come up and make me cancel the show. So tune in for that.
Christmas, you filthy animal, and a Happy New Year.